Hi, I'm Muhammad Sadiq. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer, and recently I passed the Microsoft 365 Supply Chain Management Function Consultant Associate certification. So, the objective of this recording and the follow up recording is to prepare the interested people to learn Dynamics 365 supply chain and if somebody interested to pass the certification exam. And there is a good link which is free. So if you go to this exam topics, so there are about 133 questions. So I will discuss the concept end-to-end scenario. So the objective is not just to give the answer of the questions. The objective is to create one scenario, so you learn the supply chain process, and then I will go over the associated question with that scenario or that record. Okay, so let's get started. Today I will discuss the consignment and what consignment means. Consignment is it's like the item is in possession of the customer, but the legal ownership is lying with the vendor. So vendor is putting their material or the items at the customer place, but the customer is not showing those items in their inventory because they are not the legal owner of that item. The ownership lies with the vendor. So that's the high level concept of consignment. So before doing the transactions, I will go over the setup. So the first setup is if you go to the product information management and then you go to the setup and then the dimensions and then there is a tracking dimension group. So in this tracking dimension group, you need to have the owner enabled dimension. So the creation is easy. So you just click the new button and type here owner, let's say owner 1, click the save button, select it, save it, and you're done. Okay, so that's the one step. And then there are certain items which are the property or which belongs to the vendor. So how you can like specify those items. So if I go to the release product, I go to the product and the release product. So I'm not creating a new one, so I'm just using the item which is already being created in the Contoso system. So I just filtered one item, so I'm opening this item. If this is the consignment item, okay. So if this is the consignment item, then the tracking dimension group must have the dimension owner, which we just created or we just seen. So that's the one thing. The other thing is in the item model group, you cannot assign like any item model group. There is a restriction. So if I click this 54 and you hit the save button, so you will get the error message. So the error message is the tracking dimension group for this item has owner dimension enabled. We just seen it. Only the standard cost and moving average cost models can be used for owner owner enabled products. So what we learned from it? So if there is some consignment items, what that means they belongs to the vendor. Vendor is the legal owner of those items, but those are in possession of you. When I say you means you customer. Okay, so that's the thing we need to understand. So the item model group should be either the standard cost or the moving average. We cannot use the others. So that's one thing. The other is the consignment item should have the owner tracking dimension group. Okay. Okay. Let's see the on hand of this item. So I go here. So I see like there is one item which is ownership in warehouse 24 and USMF is the owner. Let's assume there is a customer order and the order is for 2 units, but just 1 unit you have. So you need one more unit. And you don't see like you have some on hand and the ownership may be the vendor. So you have to create the replenishment, consignment replenishment order. What that means? That means you need to create a consignment replenishment order and request the vendor to provide more on hand or more inventory for you. So because we have a sales order for 2 units. Okay. So let's see the other setup part. So the other setup part is if I go to the inventory management, there is a setup and the dimension, there is a inventory owner. So you have to create, like you have the inventory items, you also need to create the inventory owner. So who can own that inventory items? So there is already like certain vendors who are the inventory owners. You can create new, just click the new button and select the vendor account, and then let's say I'm using like JP001 and just hit the save button. So this vendor becomes the inventory owner. Okay, so that's another setup. So far let's create a like notepad and then write the steps. So what are the steps? So the first step is tracking dimension group, and here you need to add the owner dimension. Second, release product, and here you need to use the owner tracking dimension group, and item group should be standard cost or moving average. Okay. And then you need to create the owners. Okay, let's go ahead. And then you need to go to the inventory management, go to the inventory management and the journal names and then the inventory. So here you need to create the one journal where the journal type is ownership change. It's easy. So you just click here new, give some good name and then journal type ownership change. So that's something you require to do. So it's already there, so I'm not creating this. So next step is ownership change, creation, and then the next step is if you go to the inventory management and the inventory and warehouse parameters, go to the journals, and there is a ownership change journal. So it's already being assigned. So you just click here. So the journal is there, you have to assign it. Assign the journal to ownership change in parameters form. Okay. So far we good with the setup. The next step is we need one more unit for the item because we have a request for 2 items. So we go to the procurement and sourcing, and there is a consignment replenishment order. I click here, I click new. I need to select the vendor. So I'm going to buy from US 104, and I need in warehouse 24. Add a line. I'm selecting the item. So I'm looking for this item, and quantity is 1. So I create one replenishment order, and then I pass on this information to the vendor. Vendor make the arrangement and ship quantity of 1 each of this item at my place. But still the ownership lies with the vendor. So once I receive this quantity, I go to the generate button and then click this product receipt. So I'm saying this, and I'm just hitting the OK button. So the product receipt will be created. So if I go to the product receipt, so I see the product receipt. Okay. So what I did in this, so I created one replenishment order, pass on this information to the vendor, and vendor delivered, vendor shipped the quantity at my place, and on receiving that I just posted the product receipt. Okay, so let's see what's the on hand I have. So if I go to the inventory, I go to the on hand, I go to the overview. So here you see like one item which we seen before, that's V on USMF, and there is one item, the owner is US 104. We need to change the ownership. Okay, so let's go to the vendor collaboration, and then we just try to see like what's the information, what information the vendor can see. So if I go to the vendor collaboration and the consignment inventory, so on hand consignment inventory, I click here. So it's showing me like this item M9215C1. The owner is US 104, and there is a one quantity. Okay, let's change the ownership. So in order to change the ownership, I go to the procurement and sourcing again, and there is a inventory ownership change. Let's click this. I'm saying new. You see this I owner, it's coming as per our setup. So you just click OK, click new, select the item, and the owner is, you see here only those like we created the inventory owner. So this list is coming, this list is only showing those which we defined. So I click here, and I'm changing the owner from this to this. The quantity is one, everything look good. So I just post it. Okay. Let's post it. Let's see the message. So the system created a one purchase order 101, and the journal is posted. So we go to the PO and then we will see. So if I see the on hand of this item, let's go to the inventory and then see the on hand. Go to overview. So in warehouse 24, now USMF is the owner of 2 units. Now they can create a sales order and then reserve it and then sell it, or they can consume it if this item is being used in the production. Okay, so that we seen. So let's go to the vendor collaboration and then see on hand consignment. You see that item is not available here. Okay, so if I go to, there is a purchase order consuming consignment inventory. So we need to see, like, is there any purchase order which is being consumed by or consignment inventory. So just click here. So you will see the 101 purchase order which is being received. So let's go to that purchase order. Click here. You can navigate from here. So the purchase order is already received. Why? Because once you created the consignment replenishment order, what that means? You requested the vendor to ship the items, keeping the ownership with themselves, and then physically that item is already with the customer or with you. So you already received it from that consignment replenishment order. So once you change the ownership, the system automatically create a purchase order and it automatically received, because you already have that item with you. So you are not going to like receiving it now. So then you can do the invoice. Okay. So if I go here and then I click here, let's do the invoice. So I give some number, invoice number, I give a date, I do some matching. Okay, it's matching. I update the status, I post it. So the customer is posting the invoice, and the next step will be to make the payment. Let's wait a while, so it's being completed, and then I will go to the vendor collaboration and then show you the status change which will be viewed to the vendor. It's taking a while. I'm sorry, my machine a bit slow. So, but in the production, it's it's very quick. Trust me. Okay. So the invoice is posted. So if I go to the vendor collaboration, I click on the purchase order. I'm not able to see anything. Why? Go to the filter, because here I have a filter like the purchase order which is not invoiced. So let's say is I want to see which are invoiced. So I click here. So I will be able to see the purchase order 101 and the purchase order status is invoiced. I can also go to the vendor collaboration and then click on the invoicing. So there is a workspace and I filter by that vendor, and then we see like there are invoices which are being approved by the customer but not paid. So I click here, and here I will be able to see like this is the 101, the purchase order, 101 is the invoice which is being approved by the customer but it's still not paid. So this is a end-to-end process. So let's write the few more steps. So assign the journal change. Okay. So what's the next step? So if you need to do the transaction, so create consignment replenishment order, next step, and then post the product receipt. Then after posting the product receipt, that means the vendor shipped the items and you received it. Then, but that's you are not showing that in your ownership. So that's still ownership of the vendor. So once you need to sell it, once you need to consume it, you need to change the ownership. Post the journal. This will auto create PO and status received. Then you need to invoice the PO and then make the payment. And all these activities which are being done at the customer with the consignment inventory, so the vendor can be aware about all these things by using the vendor collaboration portal. So that's the consignment inventory consignment demonstration using the Microsoft Dynamics 365. So let's go to the question now. The question is, the first question is, a company need to create a new item that can be company owned or vendor owned. So from this, we need to understand there is a item which is the consignment item. Okay. Then you need to create and set up the item so that you can be used, so that they can be used as a company owned or consignment. What should you do? So here are the different options. So the first option is assign a non-stock service item. So we haven't seen it. So in our demonstration, so if you need to make the item as a consignment item, what you need to do? There are two important steps. One is in the tracking dimension group, you need to use the dimension which is owner. That's the one thing. And the second is the item model group should be either the standard or the moving average. So this is not true. Assign a moving average costing. So this is partly true, but not completely. You also have to have the owner dimension. So then activate batch dimension, not true. Deactivate owner dimension, this is true. And assign a standard costing inventory method. So that's also true. So this is the way I will be doing the training, or you can say, or I will be preparing the viewer to to prepare for the exam. And main objective is not just the exam, it's just to know the process and everything. So thank you very much for watching me. So take care. Bye.